Well, hello and welcome to the upper deck on this beautiful, sunny, warm, not Sunday. I'm Lynn. Next to me is Ciarra. Ciarra, how you feeling today?
Good morning, Lynn. It feels great to be a Yankees fan this week. I know we started the week with two tough losses to two very good pitchers, by the way, Corbin Burns and Zach Gallen. But outside of that, we've only lost two games to start this season. Everyone's talking about the Dodgers, and oh my gosh, they have one loss. The Yankees only have two. I'm just throwing that out there. So it feels pretty good. How's your morning going?
My morning is going great, and I'm just looking forward to the sweep today because I just feel like we have to continue this weekend, and I feel like this is another week where I'm like, okay, this whole week I was like, okay, pinch me. Yesterday was just, and we'll break it down in a second, but I don't want to get spoiled this early in the season. So I'm working harder than usual at managing my expectations. But before we get into all of that and the chats coming in with their early attendance and their comments, and so we'll get to them too. Thanks for being here, guys. As always, let's start off like we do with Spencer's trivia question of the week. So this past week, Aaron Judge slugged 3 homers in Game 2 against the Brewers. The last time he did that was in 2023 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Who was the former Diamondbacks starting pitcher who earned the win that game, sharing in some of Judge's glory? Okay, so I am just going to leave that right there for everyone to take their guesses, and we'll give the answer at the end like we always do. So let's just get right to it. The breaking news, the biggest hot topic to start with is Aaron James Judge. What a day of smashing records left and right, franchise and otherwise. So let's talk about that.
I mean, what is there to talk about? The guy is a freak of nature, okay? He heard everything that everyone said in the offseason. Nobody would shut up about Game 5, myself included, right? Everybody talked about Judge all offseason. He notoriously is a slow starter. Like, look at last year. With as historic of a season he had, he did not get hot until end of April, early May, right? It took him until the 28th game of the season last year to hit his 5th home run. He already has 6 this season. Like, that's insane. And the fact that we as Yankee fans get to watch him every single day. Like, I don't want to hear about the postseason no more, guys. I don't. Because as far as I'm concerned, everybody else needs to show up at this point. If we get to see this out of Judge day in and day out, I never want to hear a disrespectful comment about Aaron Judge ever again. I think it's okay to criticize him when he's something, but the disrespect has got to stop. The fact that this man is tied with people like, I don't know, Babe freaking Ruth, and no one else is doing this, that's insane.
Yeah. And so we're so busy being miserable and critical that we're missing all of the glory that's going on. So totally agree with you there. And you know what? I know I've been throwing, I'm going to hear the trolls saying, let go of Juan Soto already with your, Yankee fans, because we're still throwing him in conversations in social media or whatever. But you know what? I'm bringing him up again this week, second week in a row. Soto is not the generational player that he pretended to be. I think, everyone was calling him a generational player, but before he even touched grass in the stadium. Aaron James Judge is a generational player. And I want to know why he's never been touted in that way. You look up the definition of generational player and he checks all the boxes. So move over, Juan Soto. Actually come back and join the team so we could say that. It's Judge that's because you're right. So let's talk about the franchise records broken yesterday. So he's tied with Babe Ruth for 321 home runs during his 1,000th game Friday night. And he did it in less time than than most players that reached the high numbers in the 1,000th game. So yeah, this is pretty groundbreaking. So his 321 home runs are 42 more than any other player in MLB history. That's what it is during their first 1,000 games. And this is from Sarah Langs. Even stretching the timeline to 1,100 games, Judge still remains unmatched. 18 more home runs than anyone else in that span. And some of this also came from Jonna Perlinger. Shout out to Jonna from on NJ Media. So and then Friday night, Ciarra, I know that you had something about Friday night that he did.
Yeah, so Judge right now, franchise record aside, MLB, he's breaking history. 17 RBIs and 6 home runs is the most any MLB player has had through their first 7 games in history. So forget about everything else. Shohei Ohtani, who? Because MLB loves pushing Shohei Ohtani, shoving him down our throat. So until that man gets back up on the mound and pitches again, which disclaimer, if I was him, I would never pitch again because you're already getting paid. You're already one of the best players in the world. Why risk injury? But that's a whole other conversation. But my whole point is Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what the MLB says. I don't care what Dodgers fans say. I don't care what our own fans say. There is nobody better in the MLB right now than Aaron Judge. So, and honestly, I think the word generational is used a little too loosely now, right? Like we call too many people generational. But just look at the players that we've got to witness in recent years. Aaron Judge obviously is the greatest ever right now, but we've also gotten to watch guys in the MLB like Mike Trout and Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. We're not calling them generational. And those are some of the best players in the league. So I don't like the word altogether. I think it's used too loosely because I think last year people were even using it on Jason Dominguez, and we haven't even seen what he did yet. Like we haven't seen him do anything yet. And I love Dominguez. I'm here for him. I'm ready for him to show us what he can do. But to call somebody generational who hasn't done anything yet, to me, it's pushing it a little too far.
Yep. I agree with all that. And the chat, as usual, is co-hosting their own show and saying some really good things. So let's start off with our first attenders, Jonathan and Lori. Good morning. Ken is here. Good morning to you, Ken. FJ. Dev is here. My sister Karen. Jared. FJ. Empire State of Baseball. Good to see you. Shada. Good to see you as well. And we got Jared. And we got Lou, who tells me to stop hating. I'll stop. It's not often, Lou. But yeah, I feel free to say it now that he's not around. I'll get over it. I'm just sticking up for my own guys. And so, and Sean, great to see you. And I know people are gonna, and Craig Smith, hey, first time here, I think. So great to see you. And thanks for joining. So, yeah, and I think you already mentioned this, Ciarra, and that's why I put the picture up above me. So that 6th homer was a big deal because it was the first MLB in history to do that in the first 7 games of the season. So I don't know, it can't be just a dad energy, but I think what he has going on, and again with managing expectations in mind, we're looking towards another exciting record chase for most home runs. Everyone's already calling it and calling out numbers like 70 this season. I just think he's going to be making a run for it again. But we also have to remember that everybody hits their skids at some point in the season. And speaking of hitting the skids, am I the only one that needed a defibrillator out when he ran into the wall the other night? I know Aaron Boone might have gone into cardiac arrest for a second. But luckily it was a nothing burger. But cut that out, Judge.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I also want to say to all of the Aaron Judge and Yankee hitters that are listening, I'm talking to you, Jared Carabas. Aaron Judge, and Dave Portnoy. Aaron Judge is doing this without that torpedo bat that you guys hate so much, which FYI, I'm so sick of hearing about it. It is a legal bat, right? And so many players throughout the MLB are using it right now, but also it's literally within regulation. They're just moving the wood from one part to the other and, a bunch of boring science stuff. But Judge didn't change his bat. He's still using the same bats he's always used. So cry about it. Like he's still better. So I just want everyone to know that. I just needed that on the record that he's not using a torpedo bat. But even if he was, who cares? But at this point, like just give this point, like I don't know how you get him out. If I was a pitcher facing him, I would be terrified. And that begs the question, like when Stanton returns to the lineup, just how scary is the top of the order going to be when you have Judge and Stanton? Because right now you also have the other guys producing. Like everybody, we have a few guys who need some improvement, but for the most part, everybody is producing.
That's right. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, sorry, I'm a little long-winded. It's not like last season where there was a portion in the season where if you just pitched around Soto and Judge, you would get everybody else out. That's not happening right now. And I know that there's gonna come a time where we slump and we're having a different conversation, but right now, we're firing on all cylinders.
We are, and we'll be sputtering along the way. But right now, when you look around the league, both sides, both leagues, we're looking really good. And so hopefully we'll keep it up. And you know what? They can't say anything about Stanton when he comes back and when he does what he does in the postseason. Because yes, we're going to get there. 100% calling it now. I don't think it's really such a bold call to make. They can't blame it on the torpedo because he's been using the torpedo bat, and this whole thing became about the Yankees and cheating, and this is like Tom Brady and Deflategate, the juggernaut that we've had because of these torpedo bats. When and we covered this last week too, where it just didn't start with us. They've been around for a few years now. And so, but hate us because you ain't us is the theme with everything. So, yeah. So let's, so, just, we could do the whole show about Aaron Judge. We named the show after Judge today, but, let's just move on to, there's other guys on the team, right?
It's a team sport.
So in terms of Let's Hot, so let's talk about what we've liked this week since we were together. Who have you liked this week? Who's on your hot list, Ciarra?
Yeah, I just, he might not be sizzling hot right now, but I feel like JC Escarra deserves a quick shout out. 5 stars for him for his first MLB hit. Because it wasn't just, a little single. It wasn't a home run, which happens more often than not. But he hit a double and he got on base. And I was so happy to see the guy get his first hit because it's such an incredible story. And I know we've talked about it before, but you're 29 years old. You have to find other ways to support yourself and to support your family. And at some point, most people would have given up on this dream of getting to the majors, and he didn't. And he's here. He's backing up Austin Wells, and he got on base. So shout out to JC Escarra. I was very happy for him. Hope to see him a little bit more and see what he can do.
Yeah, and you just want that guy to succeed because it's such a Cinderella story. And yeah, that was definitely great to see. And so everyone in the chat is putting the guy I was going to shout out next, and that's Trent Grisham, because Trent Grisham is baking his cake and putting some frosting on it for I'm no bench player. Look at me. Well, like certain pitchers that say I'm a starter. I'm not a bullpen guy. We'll get to that later. He's been sizzling hot, and we know that he's a Gold Glover, but I'm always crying about when are we going to get both-sided players. He has been, at least in a small sample size, a both-sided player. I mean, he's been checking all the boxes in both positions. So definitely on my hot list for this week.
Yeah, I agree. Trent Grisham, first of all, we sat him last season a lot because he's our 4th outfielder. I would like to mention that he is a Gold Glove center fielder, so it's not like he's just some bum off the street. But we sat him last year and played Alex Verdugo, who just struggled the whole second half of the season. I feel like there probably could have been more opportunity for Grish last year, but there's nothing we can do about it now. Unfortunately for him, this season, it's gonna become tough at some point to get him more playing time because he is still the fourth outfielder. But I'm glad to see Boone riding the hot hand right now, because if you would have told me yesterday that Trent Grisham was going to hit 2 home runs and he was going to be pretty much the reason we won the game, I wouldn't have believed you. So shout out to him, because he's not our everyday player. So and he looks phenomenal right now.
Yeah, and just a word to Michael K. With everything that was going on great for Grisham yesterday, what was your one fixation in the booth that he looks like Reggie Jackson? Did anyone catch that on the broadcast? Low key embarrassing, no, high key embarrassing. Anyway, yeah. So,
I did not. I must have missed that part. And a lot of the chat has said this already, but to me, Grisham looks like either an undercover cop or just like a straight up narc. Like he looks like the guy that you don't want to tell any of your secrets to, because he's going to get you thrown in jail.
Yeah, but he has the kind of face that you think you could trust, which makes it even worse. Like he's a good double agent. But all I know is he's a good Golden Glove player, and I love what I'm seeing from him. Right now, he's up to 462 batting average, not too shabby. I'm going to take this moment because maybe it'll be rare to shout out Waldo, because Oswaldo Cabrera has had himself a series in Pittsburgh, and I know it's kind of easy. It's Pittsburgh, but at the same time, he's improving. I mean, he went 3 for 4 yesterday with 3 hits, 4 RBIs, and he's batting at 316. And again, I know what we don't always pay attention to, and it's super stats kind of stuff. My head is not built that way, but it's about games played too, and what that average really means. But I think Waldo has been doing very well at third, and I've been saying that since the beginning. And so I'm really curious to see what's going to happen when DJ comes back, and we're going to be talking about that in a bit too. But and I know Peraza's baking a good cake for himself now too. You had numbers for him.
So Cabrera's counterpart, Oswald Peraza, who we not seen very much of in the first 8 games of the season. He's only had 6 at-bats, but he's 3 for 6. So he has silently been making a case for himself, and I truly believe that he DFA'd Pablo Reyes. That first at-bat that Oswald Peraza got, where he hit a home run his first at-bat, okay, great. Congratulations. But then he came in yesterday, hadn't played in a few days, and he showed us that he can still do it. He went 2 for 4 yesterday. And that's what we've been wanting to see from Peraza, right? Like, we knew his glove was there, but we've been waiting for him to be able to hit the ball in the major leagues, because in the past, he hasn't been able to do it. If he can continue to do this, and he and Waldo, and I hate platoons, but if he and Waldo can continue to give us what they're doing, I'm okay with it, because they have both also shown that they can play the field, right? Like, there's nothing crazy happening over there. The only thing that I ask is when a guy like Max Fried is on the mound, that Peraza is the guy in the field, because Fried likes to give up the ground balls, which there's nothing wrong with that. But they're slow rollers, and I think Peraza just has a little bit of an advantage playing third base over Waldo.
I'll concede to that point begrudgingly. I know that Peraza, look, I've been touting him for a while too, because I don't like what Yankees have done to him. But now he's here, and they have to stick him here, and he needs to stay. But the thing is, I've noticed that this thing for needing a utility guy, a super utility guy, as at this moment, knocking on wood, we haven't really needed that because of the way we have the depth on the bench, right? Because, case in point, Grisham, we had Belly out the past couple of days, and, we have Belly, and Belly could go in more than one place in the outfield and at first, but he was out a couple of days. But we have Rice, we have Grisham, we have Peraza and Waldo. Other than short and second, there's like no brainer, platooning already in place. But I don't want to jinx anything by saying that. And so, but speaking of shortstop, because I don't know who would replace Volpe at this point. Certainly not. Certainly not the guy that needs to be DFA'd immediately. Volpe, Volpe's got some great numbers, right?
Volpe looks phenomenal. So listen, I don't know if Rich is still in the chat, but we were just having this conversation on ESB on Thursday or Friday about how Volpe, it seemed like he was home run or nothing to start the season, and how that wasn't sustainable. And it was mainly me pushing this, but I was very frustrated because I was happy to see these home runs for Volpe. They're exciting to watch. But moving forward, I needed him to produce more because, like I just said, it's not sustainable. Well, he did just that on Friday and Saturday. He showed up and he got on base. And you know what? Yesterday, that bases clearing double, loved it. Loved every second of it. I really thought it was only going to score 2 runs, but he cleared the bases. So that also shows that we're running the bases a lot better this season already, and I hope that continues.
Yeah.
But also his glove. We talked last week how he had made an error early on in the season, and it was a little concerning. This week, his glove looks unmatched. He looks like a platinum glove winner out there right now. And listen, I don't know what it is about Anthony Volpe that other fan bases just feel the need to hate on this kid. Like it's one thing when we criticize him within, but he is one of the most unproblematic players in MLB. He's just a kid out there having fun, and you could see it. Like he's so smiley. He's always just having a good time. Like, how can you hate somebody like that? He doesn't say anything negative to the media. He doesn't get on Twitter and troll the fans. He doesn't argue with anybody. Like he is just playing the game that he loves to play. And you know what? He's producing right now. Do I think that he'll slump at some point in the season? Yeah, because everyone does. But right now, I love what I'm seeing out of him. And whether he's eating his chicken parm every day or whatever he's doing, I hope he continues it.
He's just a nice Italian boy from New Jersey, and we love it. And yeah, chicken parm it up because I love what we're seeing. Do I think he's going to be a 30-30 guy type of player? I really don't know that if that's in the cards for him, but it was good to see that he's adjusting defensively, because that was really more so than even the batting and how much he's getting out of the park. I think he's somebody that could be a Gold Glover again, and to your point, even a Platinum Glover. So look, the wolf has been released, so let's hope that he keeps up with the consistency there. So let's go to the pen for a second, because the bullpen was quite busy yesterday, with Stroman going so short in the game. I really liked what I was seeing from Yarbrough. That was really the first good look I had gotten at him, and he put up some good numbers against across the 2 innings with his 5 strikeouts and only getting one guy on base on balls. I
was happy to see it, especially since against the Diamondbacks he didn't look so good. So it was nice to see him bounce back and have a good outing. For the most part, I think the bullpen has looked good, with the exception of the Diamondback series. I truly believe that we would have won Game 1 versus Corbin Burns if the bullpen was better. Because if you look at what we did offensively versus Burns, we had him beat. The bullpen is what lost it, but they bounced back nicely in the 3rd game, and they've looked a good sense. However, I'm a little concerned that it's not going to be consistent, but the nice thing is we have a lot of guys coming back from the IL pretty soon, and those bigger pieces for our bullpen will start to get plugged in. But again, that means that the Boone in the front office have a lot of decisions to make when that does happen. So, but you are right. He did look good yesterday. I digress. He looked good yesterday. Happy to see it either way. I just hope to see it more consistently if he stays in the bullpen.
Right. And we definitely have more to talk about with the bullpen. But I know you also wanted to shout out Fernando Cruz.
Fernando Cruz looks nasty. Like, listen.
Yeah, he does.
When he got traded over here, I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. He got traded with Alex Jackson. Very happy that Alex Jackson did not make the major league roster. Also, I really thought Cashman was going to stick us with him because he was in that trade. But Fernando Cruz, if you watched him in the offseason, I've never seen a guy so happy to be in the Yankees clubhouse. Like outside of Marcus Stroman, but obviously Cruz is a lot less problematic. That's a whole other conversation. But his pitches are disgusting. I want to see more of Fernando Cruz in the future, and I really think he's going to be a good 6th, 7th, 8th inning guy, depending on the game. Obviously, Weaver will be our setup guy if it's a close game, but I think Cruz has a good opportunity to be a good long reliever for the Yankees moving forward.
Yeah. Sean saying that spring training Cruz was fooling us, but in a good way.
Yeah, and I think that's where, so spring training is so funny because
yeah.
And I'm such a flip-flop when it comes to spring training because I'm always like, oh, it's spring training. You have to take it with a grain of salt, but only with certain players. Because like with other players, I'm like, their spring training was terrible. Like, why? What are we doing? So it's hard. I guess this is one of those moments where we have to trust that the Yankees see something that we don't, and that's why he made the team. But also, there's a lot of injuries right now. So there's a lot of guys who made the bullpen or even in the lineup that wouldn't have necessarily made this team had there not been so many injuries.
Yep. I'm never going to be mad at a lot of depth in the pen. Because look, Tommy John is so basically pandemic era. We got to protect our arms, and we never know when we're going to need one of them to become the next Michael King or the next Clark Schmidt, and be needed in the starting spot. Not that I'm putting that out there anywhere. So, and Ken saying that when Lasagna comes back, he will be a back end high leverage pitcher. Ken, I want to pick up what you're throwing down there, but if we were to put all of Johnny Lowe's appearances together, and string them across as consecutive games, how much time have we really ever had with him? This guy is so injury ridden already, and taking so long to come back each time. I hope so, because the Johnny Lowe that I used to know was the Johnny Lowe I want to keep on seeing. So I'm going to pick up what you're saying, and we'll get him at the back end. I'm really not mad at the thought of Cruz staying here. I think that he has potential. He's a big, strong guy, but he doesn't overexert and shove things down. I like him. So, and Ken, yeah, they did resign him for a reason. And sometimes they re-sign players, and we're like, what the F about that? But I'm not mad at it. I'm a Johnny Lowe supporter. I'm just pointing out the facts here. We'll have to see what we get when he comes back. Because it's been a while.
We do have him on our injury list slide, so we'll touch on that more too, because he does have a timeline for return. He does have filthy stuff. I think we're all excited to see Loaizaga pitch again.
Yeah.
However, to your point, will he stay healthy for the remainder of the season once he does come back? He is coming back at a time where we'll probably need a bullpen arm, because it's right before the midway point of the season.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Right. So now we go to the cold part of this slide. So who hasn't been so hot? Look, I've been in Stroman's corner the whole time. I really have. I have to defend myself against myself right now, but I'm losing my confidence. I wonder what the holdup is. Why is Matt Blake ignoring him? Is Matt Blake ignoring him? I just don't understand where his arsenal is so small, his location is so off, and he's not the ground ball, pitcher that, and I feel so redundant because I am being redundant. It's what I say every time I have to bring him up. But, I saw a hot take on Twitter this morning. I'll never call it X. Sorry about that. This was an interesting quote. Pulling Stroman before 5 innings so he doesn't get the decision is all part of the plan to prevent him from getting 140 innings that guarantees his contract next year. So a little controversial theory floating around. What do you think about that?
I agree with it. So I actually, I was a little frustrated yesterday. Do I think Marcus Stroman looked good yesterday? Absolutely not. But the fact that we came back in the top of the next inning and got back the lead, and our offense was producing at such high value yesterday, I would have liked to see Stroman thrown back out there for the fifth inning to see if he can get himself through the fifth inning. But to the point of the person who posted that on Twitter, the Yankees do not want him to reach the 140 innings, which from a financial standpoint and a business standpoint, I get it. But from a team chemistry standpoint, I feel like you're just hurting yourself, right? I feel like Marcus Stroman has done a really good job at keeping his mouth shut. And at what point is he going to just, it's all going to bottle up and it's going to explode? And then everyone's going to get what they're expecting from him. And I don't think that's fair to Stroman, right? But to your point about Matt Blake, I'm frustrated with Matt Blake in general, not just with Stroman. But we give Matt Blake all the credit in the world for what he does with the bullpen, and I'll stand by that. But what does he do for our starting pitchers, right? Max Fried, he doesn't look horrible, but there's some, things that need to be adjusted. Carlos Rodon, his first start was great. His second start, he wasn't himself. He did bounce back. He figured it out about the fourth inning, but I need Matt Blake to do a better job with the starting pitchers all around, because that's what you're paid to do. You're not just paid for the bullpen. You're paid to help the entire pitching staff. And we saw that last year, right? Where Garrett Cole, when he was still sidelined with his injury, he was really the pitching coach for the starting pitchers. And we saw in the second half when Cole came back, kind of how some of our starting pitchers fell apart because they no longer had Cole coaching them. That cannot be a thing this year. Like, we need Matt Blake to step it up.
I really agree with that. I think they Matt Blake in the bullpen has to do with the quality of the guys that we've been getting the past few seasons. And, we pick up the pieces that we know need some tinkering and figuring out. And so, but yeah, Fried was supposed to be the number 2 behind Cole. And he had, he's not really looking like it. It was great to see a win from him last night. But other than that, yeah, he's really a question mark, and Rodon is the Rodon we know, right? He's, player A one time, player B the next. So, I think they need to be figured out. And I know Blake has a staff, so what that staff's doing is beyond me. And FJ is saying that Stroman reached 80 pitches but was faltering. Are there different rules for him? I'm not saying that there's different rules for him, but I'm saying that this is all the time. We have not seen Stroman at a high performance level. We have not seen, dare I say, Nestor depth into the game level. And there was a choice that had to be made there, right? And who's the one that went? And so I just think that we should expect more, and we should be getting more from Stroman. Ciarra, everything you said, I think you more than anyone knows, I agree. I think that he has been professional. He has been very respectful of being in the pinstripes and polite with the press, all the things that he wasn't supposed to be, that we weren't expecting. But that's not gonna get us deep into innings, and it's just a big bubble for him, and I hate saying it.
I mean, like I said, he didn't look good, right? Like, no one's saying he looked good. He looked terrible. My whole thing is he is a veteran. Until the last season and a half, he wasn't this 3-4 inning pitcher that everyone knows him to be. So he's a veteran. He says he's a starter. Throw him out in the 5th inning and see what he's made of. Make him prove that he's a starter, right? And then go from there. But if you're not even going to make him prove that he can get out of that 5th inning, then it's, what conversation are we even having? That's my whole point. If it was Rodon, we would throw Rodon back out there and make him prove it, right? So do the same with Stroman. And if it was a game where our offense wasn't producing, I would probably have a different tune. But our offense was showing up. And, everyone in the chat is saying, oh, Pittsburgh's an easy team. Pittsburgh's an easy team. If Pittsburgh's so easy and we can put up runs and we can produce, Why not put Stroman back out there for the 5th inning and make him work for it? And then if he still doesn't produce or he's still not performing, pull his ass off and have a conversation with him, because that is your job as the pitching coach, right?
Yep. Unless they're counting innings the way Cashman counts pennies, and it matters, and that remark from Twitter that I quoted is part of the calculation going on there. But and FJ, I sure hope you're right. Well, actually, I hope you're wrong.
I'm not worried about Fried at all. I think it's too early in the season to be worried about Fried. I was just pointing out that there's some things that he needs to, work on, but it is so early in the season. I'm not worried about him whatsoever. Rodon concerns me more because of, look, he looked fantastic in opening day. I won't take that away from him. But we saw it in the second game. He struggled. He figured it out by the 4th inning, but it was a little too late by then. My biggest concern with Carlos Rodon, and I really am trying to be on the Carlos Rodon fan train. My biggest concern is he has this tendency to melt down, and we just ignore it. It doesn't matter that he's a veteran. Like, I totally get what you're saying. He's a veteran. He's professional, blah, blah, blah. But if he can't not melt down in the middle of the game, how much can we trust him for a full season without Garrett Cole? Going into the season, I was ready for Carlos Rodon before we knew what was happening with Garrett Cole, because I was thinking there's less pressure on him because you have Cole and then Fried as the 2. You're the number 3. There's no pressure on you. But now you're the number 2, and some might argue that you're the ace. I'm going to need to see the best version of Carlos Rodon that we've ever seen in order for me to be on board.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen him hit yet, quite honestly, that that Rodon ace-like guy. It's just been 50-50, hold your breath. You get something different each outing. Good Rodon and bad Rodon. Who'd you have for not so hot, Ciarra?
For me, I really think the team, outside of some of the bullpen issues, has looked really good, with the exception of Pablo Reyes. And that's really sad because he's somebody who's fooled us in spring training. He looked great in spring training, but also if there weren't so many injuries on this team, Stanton, DJ LeMahieu, he wouldn't be on the roster. And that's kind of all there is to it. Unfortunately for him, Peraza's bat did show up this year. And when one of the 2 returned, Pablo Reyes is probably the guy getting DFA'd or sent back to the minors or whatever they're going to do. But he just has not looked good. We have 5 errors as a team right now, and 2 of those are Pablo's.
Right. Yeah, he's certainly not making a case for himself, and there's going to be a DFA coming when the time is right for that. So I hope to not see him again on the field, quite honestly. So this is a question more than a concern. I know I'm supposed to be talking about who's not hot, but Wells was cooling off a bit this week. So, and I know I'm saying that because I'm spoiled, but do you think it has anything to do with the fact that they put him down in the lineup? Do you think it was like leadoff juju? And we need to kind of, put him back up and give him that spotlight again. We know that's worked with some others, like Jazz certainly rose to that occasion. Glaber rose to that occasion last season. So, and I'm not worried about Wells. It's just wondering because we got so used to the consistency game after game after game, and it's tuckering out a little bit this past week. So I'm just putting a flag on the play.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with that because when he first got moved down to the lineup, he was still producing. Also, and this is where my issue with the leadoff hitter is. Like, thankfully, it's early in the season, but figure out who the leadoff hitter is because we've had 3 so far. I still don't think it should be Wells simply for the fact that every 4th day he has to have a day off. So now who's going to be your leadoff hitter because you want to keep the rest of the lineup consistent, right? I also don't think Goldschmidt should be the leadoff hitter. So far, Ben Rice might be my favorite leadoff hitter, but he's not an everyday player. So that also doesn't work. I don't know what the answer is right now, but we don't have a true leadoff hitter.
That's the thing.
And I am just really hoping they figure it out and they get the lineup consistent, because while we produced yesterday, when they first put that lineup out, I was like, wow, why we had Ben Rice as leadoff on Friday. Why not just leave him there Saturday? Why put Paul Goldschmidt back in the leadoff? Why is Jazz hitting second? Like, what the hell is happening? Again, it worked out.
Yeah.
We won, whatever, but I didn't like it. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But no, I think Wells will be okay. I think we've reached, yesterday was our 8th game. It just happens. And he also had a run a burritoed in yesterday. So I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, what he's doing with being a little bit lukewarmer than usual is what every team dreams of. So it was unfair to put him there, but it was the only place I could figure to put him, because I don't think he was particularly worth the hot this week. But and this is what Boone loves to do. He loves himself these mystery guest grab bag lineups. So I don't think Goldschmidt's it. I don't think, even though I like what I'm seeing from Volpe lately, and I always like what I'm seeing from Jazz, neither one of them are it either. So I think it's, and maybe it's Pablo Reyes. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right. So so let's pull the Band-Aid on the injuries.
Let's do it.
Go ahead with Clark Schmidt.
Clark Schmidt looked phenomenal yesterday in his rehab game. I just want to put that out there because he is my personal favorite pitcher. I know I talk about Marcus Stroman a lot, but Clark Schmidt is my absolute favorite pitcher. So he rehabbed yesterday. He threw 52 pitches. He went 3 innings with 7 strikeouts. That's really good. He only had 1 walk and he gave up 1 hit. So I'm ready to have Clark Schmidt back. He should be back between the 16th and the 18th, it's looking like, which, again, they're going to have some decisions to make because, let's be honest, Cookie Carrasco and Will Warren have done their job, and they've looked pretty good. I truly think Will Warren will be the one that gets sent down because Cookie is a veteran, and, we said it before that, the Yankees like that. But, honestly, Cookie looked a lot better than what people were expecting from him. Yep. So shout out to him. And also Will Warren looked pretty good. So I think both guys did what we needed them to do. But I'm ready for Clark Schmidt to be back.
Yeah, I'm certainly ready too. So, and I'm glad he had a good outing. And so hopefully we'll see him on tax day. It'll be the only good thing about tax day for some of us. So
I still have to do my taxes.
I don't even know why I said it and made myself sick just now. Anyway, thanks for you had the numbers earlier about Schmidt. That was a really good first rehab game.
Yeah, and for it being his first rehab game and really not knowing the extent of his injury, and I say that because the Yankees are mysterious when it comes to injuries. So you never know how serious an injury is, and whether you like it that way or you don't, that's just how it is with the Yankees. So for him to throw 52 pitches in his first outing, I think that's a great start for him. And it's a good sign for us, right? Because that means his first outing, his first start, he could probably give us 60 plus pitches and we won't have to worry.
Yep. Yeah, that's 100%. And then in terms of the long list of injuries, we're back and talking about the pen now, because that's where they're all at. And it looks like the next nearest one back is Ian Hamilton. He'll be back apparently before Schmidt, right?
Yes. So there's so many injuries with the bullpen, and I think that when a lot of these guys come back, that's what's going to make the difference for us. Ian Hamilton should actually be joining us in Detroit. So he commenced his rehab assignment on the 29th of March. He's expected to be activated on the 8th, which is Tuesday. So yeah, he'll be in Detroit with us. We could see him Tuesday or Wednesday. You never know. But either way, he'll be with us in Detroit when it's going to be freezing cold. So good luck.
Yeah. And you were really our ace reporter on all these injuries this week, Ciarra. So why don't you just keep going?
Yeah, I'll just keep going down the list. So we have Tyler Metzik, who he strained his oblique in spring training. He is set to start a rehab assignment soon. Not really a date yet, but whatever. Jonathan Loizaga, who we talked about earlier in the show a little bit. So he tossed the bullpen on Saturday. So far, his throwing program is going the way it's supposed to. Everything is progressing. We're looking at late May, early June. So when I said earlier that he's joining us at a time where we'll probably need some bullpen arms, because I think around June to July is when we start to see a breakdown of some of the bullpen and some of our pitchers. And that's when we're going to need some help. And that's also when we're probably going to be getting into the nitty gritty of things. We don't face Boston until June. And I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I think Boston is the team that we need to be looking out for in the AL. I know they're off to a slow start, but Breggy and Devers are starting to figure it out, and I think they're going to be a scary team. Not to mention their pitching staff. Listen, Garrett Crochet, he's going to be a filthy pitcher moving forward. So yeah. Anyway, I digress. Scott Efros. I don't know if this is even a real person at this point. I think we're paying him not to pitch. He has had another setback, so with his hamstring, so there is no timetable for him, unfortunately. Jake Cousins, who is one of the guys that I think will be a tremendous help in the bullpen when he does come back. He's on a 60-day IL. Obviously, it's retroactive. If the throwing program goes well, he should be eligible to return May 26th. So that's good news. And then lastly, our pal DJ LeMahieu. I'm not really sure why they're doing this at this point. They really need to just Jacoby Ellsbury him, but he is supposed to be taking live at bats this week. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't know why, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and DJ, I'd rather see DJ be the most frequent bench warmer than any. Maybe him before Pablo Reyes. But other than that, he just really needs to be there to sit on the bench, and that's about it, because I don't know what it would take. It would take like really needing to put him up there and have him do something really pretty special for me to feel otherwise. I think for most of us to feel otherwise. And yeah, I haven't seen DJ and Ellsbury in the same room ever. And so maybe there's people, I don't know. Stranger things have happened, but yeah. So the bullpen, all to our point earlier in the show, we can't mess around, and so the guys that we have there now, are they the best? Are they the gloves that we would have wanted them to acquire during the year? Not necessarily, but some of them, Cashman should feel pretty good that going on the cheap worked out in some of the ways, and so we'll see what happens down the road. But I really want to make it clear. I'll double down on the fact that I'm a Johnny Lowe fan. Excited for him to come back. I always am. I just want to stick some Velcro on his ass and so that he stays healthy and on a mound every now and then. So let's pivot to what's next. So everyone in the chat, I think Jonathan was the first with the breaking news about the Detroit series. But first, let's talk about today's lineup. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have it on the fancy Yankee background yet. This was from Hoke, who had it first. So good news is Belly's back in the game. Raise your hand if you were low-key worried about Belly being out 2 games. Yeah, so for sure. And because we know he come. Look, by now some of these vets that we got are I'm so glad we have Bellinger. I love Bellinger. But he comes with some baggage, and so I was concerned, but hopefully we see some reassurance today having him back in the 2 spot. The rest is basically what we would expect. And to your point, Will Warren has been, really showing up and showing out. So hoping to see this be a sweep, put a good button on this series, this amazing record-breaking series. And before we go to Detroit, which we'll talk about in a hot second, I'm really hoping that my player of the game, Aaron Judge can take a break for today. I really want to see Dominguez do something Martian-like, because and Ciarra noticed I wasn't brave enough to put him as my what's not hot this week. Ciarra said, I might fight you on that one if we talk about it. And I said, I'm too tired. I'm not awake enough for that. But you know what? He's another one that I should have a T-shirt that says "Manage Your Expectations" because he got that nickname, the Martian, when he was still a prospect, and like he's gonna be this otherworldly creature that lands in the Bronx and makes things all better all the time for the Yankees. Ridiculous expectation, obviously, but his numbers are not exactly showing Martian like quality right now. Early in the season, still decent numbers, but let's reel it back on the expectations for Dominguez, while at the same time saying, God damn it, we expect it of you, Jason. So
I'm happy with what I've seen from Jason Dominguez so far. I think just like with Volpe, it's not fair that we put all this pressure and all this expectation on him. And I also believe that he's producing more than what he's getting credit for. And I'm not saying that you're saying opposite, but he is a rookie. He's 22 years old. He's got a long way to go. The only thing that I ask is that moving forward, if he's our left fielder, stop taking him out in those late innings because he's never, first of all, we're killing his confidence. Second of all, he's never going to get comfortable in left field if we don't let him play left field. Like, let him be there. If he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, if it gets to a point where it's an issue, then we can worry about it. But he hasn't done anything wrong. So I don't agree with the defensive replacements that have happened a few times. And I hope that they move away from that. Outside of that, I'm very happy with what he's done to produce. Now, when it comes to this lineup, Ben Rice isn't in it, so I need to update my fantasy baseball lineup and take him out of it. It's a balanced lineup. I still don't agree with Paul Goldschmidt being the leadoff, but it is what it is. I don't really, I'm not Aaron Boone. I'm not the front office. And I would probably just listen, Jazz, when he's producing. But with his strikeout rate right now, I would probably switch him and Wells. I think I would make Wells the cleanup guy at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Chisholm, I have no idea what they've been doing, thinking with him at cleanup. Because this isn't the first time. He needs to go much lower down. We need him at the bottom because he's got wheels on him the way Volpe does. Volpe even should, Volpe is going up there too. So yeah, Wells should really be definitely maybe even where Chisholm is right now. Because yeah, I totally agree with that. So, the construction of it is a little bit wonky, but and Grisham, Grisham I would have put up further too, because I don't know that, Grisham's not slow on the bags, but he's also, not a speedo like Volpe and Jazz are. So I'm a little bit questioning of it, but who am I? I'm not a manager. I don't blow bubbles in a dugout. So we'll see what happens with it, but really hoping to see a strong outings from Warren. So we'll see what we get. And yeah, so in terms of what's coming up next, Jonathan came in with the breaking news before we even went live for the Detroit series. If you have a day job, either sneak it on your phone or whatever, because we're not getting night games this week. And as it is, Detroit's an hour behind the East Coast. So it's like breakfast with the Tigers this week. So and I'm sorry. I know it's going to be cold, but there's layers, there's thermals. I'm a little bit, I haven't heard about, a massive lakefront effect snow coming in off the Great Lakes and a blizzard coming, but whatever. Listen. My sister Karen in the chat, she knows we've sat in that stadium in the Bronx with snow coming down, with the grounds crew not clearing out the dirt, clearing out the snow, and we had to get kicked out when they finally called the game in the 7th inning one time. So, but it's a soft generation on our hands. What can I say? So yeah.
Listen, I hear you. I do, but Midwest cold and East Coast cold are not the same. And I say that as somebody who grew up in New York and now lives in Chicago. Okay. I thought it was the same. It is much colder here. It can be 20 degrees here and 20 degrees there. It feels different. Also, Sean Browning, good point. It is tornado season here in the Midwest, and it is insane. I think this is the craziest tornado season since I've lived here. Thankfully, where I'm at, we don't get it as often, but it has, it has creeped up towards us. But back to my original point, it is freaking cold in the Midwest. It gets cold here for no reason, for absolutely no reason. It is going to be, we're going into mid-April. Can we get some warm weather, please?
Seriously, but to your point, Ciarra, you guys are professional parka wearers. By now your blood should be thick like molasses at this point. And the old stadium where I'm talking about all those snowstorms we've sat through on opening days of the past, that stadium, the old one, was a wind tunnel. And those of you old enough to know that. But yeah, I know I can't compare it to the Midwest. I'm not even going to try. I'm just being a grumpy old lady at this point. So there you go. And then we have our first West Coast trip out to see the Giants in San Francisco. And of course, next time we meet, we'll be heading into Game 3 with the Giants. So that's the week ahead. How are you liking our odds against the Tigers and the Giants?
I think the Tigers are a low-key good team. I'm a little sad that Gleyber Torres is on the IL and we won't actually get to see him play. Yeah. I was going to make the trip to Detroit, but it's too freaking cold. I'm not doing that. It's too damn cold. I think we'll take the series in Detroit. The Giants, I'm a little more nervous about because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the NL West is like very good. I think that's the division to watch this year. I mean, you have the Dodgers and the Padres who are duking it out right now, obviously, but the Giants, I think, are going to be the sleeper team out there. I think the only team that's not going to fare well is the Rockies. Right. But I think the NL in general is looking very good, but specifically the West.
Yeah, and I'm even a little bit concerned about the Tigers because if last season's any similar in any way, they weren't so as easy as I was expecting them to be when we met them last season. So, I'm hoping that the morning drive is the way to go, and maybe we should have all our games, at 11:00 New York time. We'll see how it goes, but let's get to the answer for Spencer's trivia question of the week. Throwing it up on the screen in case you came in a little bit late. So this past week, Aaron Judge slugged 3 homers in Game 2 against the Brewers. The last time he did that was in 2023 against the Arizona Diamondback. 2023. Who was the former Diamondback starting pitcher who earned the win that game, sharing in some of Judge's glory? So I'm going to just give it a Jeopardy minute. I'm not going to hum the theme like I tend to do, but just giving it a minute. I think I had some guests at the opening. I think Corbin Burns was a guest. I think that Lori, you might have said, am I right? You might have said Luke Weaver, but
I was thinking Luke Weaver too, but was he? I don't know.
Okay, well, yes, it was. It was Luke Weaver who was the starting pitcher and winning pitcher of that game. So thank you, Spencer. You always have the best trivia questions every week. And I love that it was Luke Weaver, and I love that we have him now. And speaking of Spencer, we did debut a new show that we're doing, and it's called History and Heroes. We debuted on this past Monday night. It's me, Ciarra, and Spencer. And each show, we're going to pick an era or a season in baseball and talk about the history of that time for the Yankees and for MLB, and a hero from that particular season or era every week. So the next time, and we are always going to do these on off days so that we're not competing with the baseball team, because I know it's going to be a struggle. What do I do? Oh, I'm definitely going to watch History and Heroes before and I'll watch the game later. not. So we're going with the off nights, and our next show is going to be Thursday, April 24th. We go live at 8. We'll be shouting it out along the way. But the first episode was a real blast, and I want to thank everybody in the chat, because there's some of you in the chat that showed up for us, and we really appreciate that. So that about wraps it up. Listen, you got to keep watching Tats, Donald, and Rabino every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. You got to check out Donald Stewart's Yankified. He always goes live after games, usually on Saturdays, and that's always a hot ticket. And you know where to find us every Sunday. You always have a reserved seat with Ciarra and me on the upper deck. And let's go Yankees.